James Peter Jimmy Greaves is a former England international footballer. He is England's fourth highest international goalscorer, Tottenham Hotspur's highest ever goalscorer, the highest goalscorer in the history of English top-flight football, and has also scored more hat-tricks for England than anyone else. He finished as the First Division's top scorer in 6 seasons. He is a member of the English Football Hall of Fame. Greaves began his professional career at Chelsea in 1957, and played in the following year's FA Youth Cup final. He scored 124 First Division goals in just 4 seasons before being sold on to Italian club AC Milan for £80,000 in April 1961. His stay in Italy was not a happy one and he returned to England with Tottenham Hotspur for a fee of £99,999 in December 1961. Whilst with Spurs he won the FA Cup in 1961 Euro 62 and 1966 Euro 67, the Charity Shield in 1962 and 1967, and the European Cup Winners' Cup in 1962 Euro 63. He never won a league title but did help Spurs to a second-place finish in 1962 Euro 63. He moved to West Ham United in a player exchange in March 1970 and retired the following year. After a 4-year absence he returned to football at the non-league level, despite suffering from alcoholism. In a 5-year spell he played for Brentwood, Chelmsford City, Barnet, and Woodford Town. Greaves scored 13 goals in 12 England under-23 internationals and scored 44 goals in 57 full England internationals between 1959 and 1967. He played in the 1962 and 1966 FIFA World Cup, but was injured in the group stage of the 1966 World Cup and lost his first team place to Geoff Hurst, who kept Greaves out of the first team in the final. After retiring as a player, Greaves went on to enjoy a career in broadcasting, most notably working alongside Ian St John on St and Gravesy from 1985 to 1992. During this period, he also made regular appearances on TV. He worked on a number of other sport shows on ITV during this period, including Sporting Triangles. Club career, Chelsea. Greaves was born in Manor Park and raised in Hainault. He was scouted playing football while a schoolboy by Chelsea's Jimmy Thompson, and in 1955 was signed on as an apprentice to become one of Drake's ducklings. He soon made an impression at youth level, scoring 51 goals in the 1955 Euro 56 season and 122 goals in the 1956 Euro 57 season under the tutelage of youth team coach Dickie Foss. Greaves scored in the 1958 FA Youth Cup final, but Chelsea lost the 2-legged tie 7-6 on aggregate after Wolverhampton Wanderers turned round a 4-goal deficit with a 6-1 win in the second leg. He turned professional in the summer of 1957, though spent 8 weeks working at a steel company to supplement his income during the summer break. Aged 17, Greaves scored on his First Division debut on August 24, 1957 against Tottenham Hotspur in a 1-1 draw at White Hart Lane. He was an instant success, as the News Chronicle reported that he showed the ball control, confidence and positional strength of a seasoned campaigner, and compared his debut to the instant impact the young Duncan Edwards had as a teenager. The Blues played attacking football during the 1957 Euro 58 campaign, resulting in high-scoring matches, and Greaves ended the season as the club's top scorer with 22 goals in 37 appearances. Drake rested him for 6 weeks from mid-November as he did not wish the praise Greaves was receiving to go to his head. Greaves marked his return to the first team at Stamford Bridge with 4 goals in a 7-4 victory over Portsmouth on Christmas Day. Greaves scored 5 goals in the 6-2 win against league champions Wolverhampton Wanderers in the third match of the 1958 Euro 59 season. Chelsea remained inconsistent, though despite his team finishing in 14th place, Greaves managed to finish as the division's top scorer with 32 goals in 44 league games. Greaves scored 29 goals in 40 league matches in the 1959 Euro 60 campaign, 5 of which came in a 5-4 victory over Preston North End. Despite his goal-scoring exploits, the club could manage only an 18th-place finish, 3 places and 3 points above the relegation zone. In the 1960 Euro 61 season, Greaves scored hat-tricks against Wolves, Blackburn Rovers and Manchester City. He scored 4 goals against Newcastle United and Nottingham Forest, and hit 5 goals in a 7-1 win over West Bromwich Albion. His hat-trick against Manchester City on November 19 included his 100th league goal, making him the youngest player to pass the 100-goal mark, at the age of 20 years and 290 days. However, he became increasingly disillusioned at Chelsea as, despite his goals, the team also conceded goals with regularity, and were never consistent enough to mount a title challenge. They also exited the FA Cup by losing 2-1 at home to 4th Division side Crewe Alexandra. Club chairman Joe Mears agreed to sell Greaves as Chelsea were in need of extra cash. His last game was the final game of the 1960 Euro 61 season on April 29. He was made captain for the day and scored all 4 goals in a 4-3 win against Nottingham Forest. This took his tally for the season to a club record 41 goals in 40 league games, making him the division's top scorer. AC Milan. Greaves was signed by Italian Serie A club AC Milan in June 1961 for an £80,000 fee, and was given a 3-year contract on £140 a week with a £15,000 signing bonus. He became unhappy at the thought of leaving London and tried to cancel the move before it was fully confirmed, but Rossoneri manager Giuseppe Volney refused to annul the deal. Greaves scored on his debut in a 2-2 draw with Botafogo at the San Siro. However, he did not get on well with new head coach Nerio Rocco, who insisted on keeping the players in a strict training regime with little personal freedom. Greaves scored 9 goals in 14 appearances, including one against Inter Milan in the Milan derby. During a match against Sampdoria, Greaves kicked a player who had spat in his face. Sampdoria equalised from the resulting free kick, for which Rocco blamed Greaves, despite him having scored Milan's opener and set up the second. Due to his low morale, Greaves was transfer listed and Brazilian attacker Dino Sani was signed as his replacement. Both Tottenham Hotspur and Chelsea made £96,500 bids, which were both accepted. After he left, the club went on to win the league title in 1961 Euro 62. Tottenham Hotspur. After protracted negotiations, Bill Nicholson signed Greaves for Tottenham Hotspur in December 1961 for a £99,999 €. The unusual fee was intended to relieve Greaves of the pressure of being the first £100,000 player in British football. He joined Spurs just after they became the first club in England to complete the First Division and FA Cup double during the 20th century. He played his first game in a Spurs shirt for the reserve team on December 9, 1961, and scored twice in a 4-1 win over Plymouth Argyle reserves at Home Park. He scored a hat-trick on his first team debut, including a flying scissor kick, in a 5-2 win over Blackpool at White Hart Lane. He went on to feature against Benfica in the semi-finals of the European Cup. In the first leg at the Estadio da Luz he had a goal disallowed for offside, and in the return fixture he had another goal disallowed for offside. He played in all 7 games of the club's FA Cup run, scoring 9 goals in the competition as they beat Birmingham City, Plymouth Argyle, West Bromwich Albion, Aston Villa and Manchester United to reach the 1962 FA Cup final against Burnley at Wembley. Greaves opened the scoring against Burnley on 3 minutes when he hit a low shot past goalkeeper Adam Blacklaw from a tight angle, and Spurs went on to win the game 3-1. They finished the league in 3rd place in 1961 Euro 62, 4 points behind champions Ipswich Town. Greaves scored twice in the 1962 FA Charity Shield, as Spurs secured the trophy with a 5-1 win over Ipswich at Portman Road. In the 1962 Euro 63 season Greaves scored hat-tricks in victories over Manchester United, Ipswich Town and Liverpool, as well as 4 goals in a 9-2 win over Nottingham Forest. Spurs finished the league campaign in 2nd place, 6 points behind champions Everton. Greaves scored 37 goals in 41 league games, finishing as the division's top scorer. In the European Cup Winners' Cup, Tottenham beat Rangers, Angstrom K Slovan Bratislava and OFK Beograd to reach the final, where they met Spanish club Atletico Madrid at the Coupe. In the first leg of the semi-final against Beograd in Belgrade, Greaves was sent off for violent conduct after attempting to punch centre-back Blagomir Krivokue. Greaves served a one-match ban and was able to play in the final, where he opened the scoring after an assist from Cliff Jones and later added a fourth in a 5-1 victory. In winning the competition, Tottenham Hotspur became the first British team to win a European trophy. Manager Bill Nicholson and his assistant Eddie Bailey then began a period of transition at White Hart Lane. Euro key players such as Danny Blanchflower, John White and Dave Mackay were reaching their retirements and had to be replaced. Greaves remained a consistent goal-scorer though, and in the 1963 Euro 64 season he scored hat-tricks in victories over Nottingham Forest, Blackpool, Birmingham City and Blackburn Rovers. Spurs finished in fourth place, 6 points behind champions Liverpool, and exited the FA Cup and Cup Winners' Cup at the opening stages. Greaves scored 35 goals in 41 league games to again finish as the division's top scorer. Strike partner Bobby Smith left the club in the summer, though Greaves felt the partnership he went on to form with new signing Alan Gilesian was even more effective. Spurs finished sixth in 1964 Euro 65, though Greaves scored 29 goals in 41 league games to finish as the division's joint top scorer. He also scored 2 hat-tricks in the FA Cup Euro against Torquay United and Ipswich Town AA Euro to take his total tally to 35 goals in 45 appearances. He missed 3 months at the start of the 1965 Euro 66 season after being diagnosed with hepatitis, but recovered to end the campaign with 16 goals in 31 matches, remaining the club's top scorer as they finished the league campaign in 8th place whilst failing to make it past the 5th round of the FA Cup. Greaves scored 31 goals in 47 appearances in the 1966 Euro 67 campaign, helping Spurs to launch a title challenge that ended with a third-place finish, 4 points behind Manchester United. They also won the FA Cup after knocking out Millwall, Portsmouth, Bristol City, Birmingham City and Nottingham Forest to reach the 1967 FA Cup final with Chelsea. Though he did not score in the final itself, a 2-1 victory, with 6 goals in 8 games, Greaves was the competition's leading scorer. The 1967 Euro 68 season was a disappointing one for Spurs following their 3-3 draw with Manchester United at Old Trafford in the 1967 FA Charity Shield. They finished 7th in the league, exited the FA Cup in the 5th round and were knocked out of the Cup Winners' Cup in the 2nd round. Greaves had a poor season by his own standards, though with 29 goals in 48 appearances he was still the club's top scorer. Nicholson bought Greaves a new strike partner in Martin Chivers from Southampton for a club record £125,000 fee, with Gilesian dropping further back into midfield to accommodate, but Greaves and Chivers were not as effective together as Nicholson had hoped. In 1968 Euro 69, Greaves scored 27 goals in 42 league games to finish as the First Division's leading scorer for the 6th and final time. He scored 4 of his goals in one match against Sunderland, and also scored hat-tricks against Burnley and Leicester City. His 9 goals in cup competitions, including a hat-trick against Exeter City, left him with an overall goal tally of 36 in 52 games. Spurs performed inconsistently in the 1969 Euro 70 season, and Greaves was dropped from the first team after playing in an FA Cup defeat to Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park on January 28, 1970. He was never recalled to the starting lineup, but still ended the season as the club's joint top scorer, having scored 11 goals in 33 matches. Greaves was given a testimonial match by Spurs on October 17, 1972 in a 2-1 win over Feyenoord at White Hart Lane. He made £22,000 from the occasion. West Ham United. In March 1970, Greaves joined West Ham United in part exchange in the deal, valued at £220,000, that took Martin Peters to White Hart Lane. Greaves later admitted his regret in making the move to Upton Park. He scored 2 goals on his Hammers debut on March 21, in a €5-1 win against Manchester City at Main Road. In January 1971, with Bobby Moore, Brian Deere and Clyde Best, Greaves was involved in late-night drinking, against the wishes of manager Ron Greenwood, prior to a €4-0 FA Cup away defeat to Blackpool. On arriving in Blackpool, Greaves and his teammates had been informed by members of the press that the game, the following day, was unlikely to go ahead due to a frozen pitch and the likelihood of frost that night. Believing that there would be no game the following day, Greaves drank 12 lagers in a club owned by Brian London and did not return to the team hotel until 1:45 am. Although they lost the game, Greaves claimed it was not as a result of the late night, the drinking or the frozen pitch, but because the West Ham team in which he was playing was not good enough. As a result, the players were fined and dropped by the club. Greaves was struggling with his fitness and his motivation. He felt he had become a journeyman footballer and lost motivation as he believed that apart from Moore, Jeff Hurst, Billy Bonds and Pop Robson, few of his teammates could play good football. Towards the end of his career with West Ham, Greaves began to drink more and more alcohol, often going straight from training in Chadwell Heath to a pub in Romford, where he would remain until closing time. He later admitted that he was in the early stages of alcoholism. His final game came on May 1, 1971 in a 1-0 home defeat to Huddersfield Town. Greaves scored 13 goals in 40 games in all competitions for West Ham. Later career and alcoholism. After leaving West Ham, Greaves put on weight and did not attend a match as either a player or a spectator for 2 years. Drinking formed a large part of his life and he became an alcoholic. At times he was drinking 20 pints of lager during the day and consuming a bottle of vodka in the evening. He later admitted that he was also regularly driving whilst drunk during this period. Seeking an answer to his alcoholism, Greaves decided to return to football at a lower level where he would not be required to be as fit as he had been whilst playing in the Football League. He started playing for his local side, Brentwood, and made his debut on December 27, 1975 in a 2-0 defeat to Woodford Town. His return to football was successful enough that he signed for Chelmsford City in the Southern League for the 1976-77 season. He played for only a few months with Chelmsford. He was still struggling with alcoholism and delirium tremens and sought out help from Alcoholics Anonymous. He was also hospitalized in the alcoholics ward of Whalley Psychiatric Hospital. In August 1977 and still coping with alcoholism, Greaves made his debut for Barnet in a 3-2 win against Atherstone Town. Playing from midfield in 1977-78, Greaves netted 25 goals and was their player of the season. He chose to leave the Bees early in the 1978-79 season to focus on his business interests and beating his alcoholism, despite manager Barry Ferry's attempts to get him to stay at Underhill. Greaves went on to make several appearances for semi-professional side Woodford Town before retiring. International career. Greaves made his debut for the England under-23 team in a 6-2 win over Bulgaria at Stamford Bridge on September 25, 1957. He scored 2 goals, and missed out on a hat-trick after failing to convert a penalty. Greaves won his first England cap on May 17, 1959 against Peru at the Estadio Nacional, scoring England's only goal in a 4-1 defeat. The tour of the American continents was not considered a success by the British media, as England also lost to Brazil and Mexico. But Greaves mostly escaped criticism in the press as he was still a teenager and showed promise with his performances. He scored consecutive hat-tricks on 8 October 1960 and 19 October, in victories at Northern Ireland and Luxembourg. On April 15, 1961, Greaves scored another hat-trick in a 9-3 victory over Scotland at Wembley, and also had a 4th goal disallowed for offside. He played in all 4 of England's games at the 1962 FIFA World Cup in Chile, scoring 1 goal in the 3-1 victory over Argentina before playing in the quarter-final defeat to Brazil. During the defeat to Brazil, a stray dog ran onto the pitch and evaded all of the players' efforts to catch it until Greaves got down on all fours to beckon the animal. The Brazilian player Garinca thought the incident was so amusing that he took the dog home as a pet. On November 20, 1963, he scored 4 goals in an 8-3 win over Northern Ireland. The following year, on October 3, he scored another hat-trick against Northern Ireland. He scored 4 goals again on June 29, 1966, in a 6-1 friendly win over Norway, and in doing so ensured himself a starting place in the 1966 FIFA World Cup. At the World Cup he played all 3 group games against Uruguay, Mexico and France. However, in the win against France, midfielder Joseph Bonnell racked his studs down Greaves' shin, causing a wound that required 14 stitches and left a permanent scar. His replacement, Jeff Hurst, scored the winner in the quarter-final against Argentina and kept his place all the way to the final, where Hurst scored a hat-trick as England won the tournament. Greaves was fit to play in the final, but manager Alf Ramsey opted against changing a winning team. Only the 11 players on the pitch at the end of the 4-2 win over West Germany received medals. Following a Football Association-led campaign to persuade FIFA to award medals to all the winners' squad members, Greaves was presented with his medal by Gordon Brown at a ceremony at 10 Downing Street on June 10, 2009. In November 2014, Greaves' medal was sold at auction for £44,000. Greaves played only 3 more times for England after the 1966 World Cup, scoring a single goal. His final cap came in a 1-0 win over Austria on May 27, 1967. He retired from international football early the following year after telling Ramsey that he had no intention of becoming a bit-part player in the England squad. In total he scored 44 goals in 57 appearances for England. He is in 4th place on the all-time list of England goalscorers, behind Bobby Charlton, Gary Lineker and Wayne Rooney. Greaves holds the record for most hat-tricks for England, Euro 6 in all. Style of play: Greaves was a prolific goalscorer, and cited his relaxed attitude as the reason for his assured composure and confidence. He also had great acceleration and pace, as well as great positional skills. Broadcasting career: Greaves became a columnist at the Sun newspaper in the early 1980s. He continued to write his column for 30 years until it was cancelled, at which point he began working as a columnist for the Sunday People. He worked as a pundit on Star Soccer from 1980, and later worked on the Saturday Show before he was selected as a pundit for ITV's coverage of the 1982 FIFA World Cup. From there he worked on World of Sport and On the Ball, where he struck up a partnership with Ian St. John. Greg Dyke also hired Greaves to work as a television reviewer and presenter on TVM in what Dyke admitted was a way of dumbing down the program to attract more viewers. From October 1985 to April 1992 he and St. John presented a popular Saturday lunchtime football show called St. and Gravesy. He went on to work as a team captain on Sporting Triangles, opposite Andy Gray and Emlyn Hughes. His career in television came to an end as the Premier League was starting up, and he believed that his light-hearted approach to football was not considered serious enough for television bosses at the time. He went into semi-retirement after St. and Gravesy was cancelled, making only occasional television appearances and after-dinner speeches. He released his autobiography, Gravesy, in 2003. Greaves has also written numerous books in partnership with his lifelong friend, the journalist and author Norman Gilmer. Personal life: he married Irene in 1958, and though the pair went through a divorce process during the height of his alcoholism, the divorce was never finalized and they reunited after 3 months apart. They had 4 children, Lynn, Mitzi, Danny, and Andrew. They also had another son, Jimmy Greaves Jr., who died before his first birthday. Whilst playing for Tottenham Hotspur he took out a £1,000 bank loan to start a packing business with his brother-in-law. By the end of his playing career this company had an annual turnover of over £1 million. He had a number of different business interests, including a travel agency. Whilst out of the Spurs' first team, Greaves entered the 1970 London to Mexico World Cup rally. In his first ever rally, alongside co-driver, Tony Fore, Greaves drove a Ford Escort to a 6th-place finish out of the 96 entrants. Greaves underwent surgery on an artery in his neck after suffering a mild stroke in February 2012. Statistics: Club, International Goals and Caps, England's goal tally first. Honours, with Chelsea, FA Youth Cup runner-up, 1958, with AC Milan, Serie A winner, 1961 a Euro 62, with Tottenham Hotspur, FA Cup winner, 1961 a Euro 62 and 1966 a Euro 67, Football League First Division runner-up, 1962 a Euro 63, FA Charity Shield winner, 1962 and 1967, European Cup Winners' Cup winner, 1962 a Euro 63, with England, British Home Championship winner, 1959 a Euro 60, 1960 a Euro 61, 1963 a Euro 64, 1964 a Euro 65 and 1965 a Euro 66, British Home Championship runner-up, 1961 a Euro 62, 1962 a Euro 63 and 1966 a Euro 67, FIFA World Cup winner, 1966, references, specific. General, Greaves, Jimmy. Les Scott, Gravesy, The Autobiography, Time Warner, ISBN A0-7515-3445-5. External links, jimmygreaves.net. The official website of Jimmy Greaves.